Our first days of travel, day one. I'm going to put in the drive and probably hand you at the airport a thing with your airline ticket and then also travel information you need as you go along the way. Things like your address in Scotland, and then any itinerary things and other things that are essential travel information that you'll need. Yeah, also including your welcome letter. So that will be mailed to you. You'll have it in your email, but I probably will print a copy of it and hand that to you that you carry with you on the plane. Yeah. Some things about our first days of travel that will happen is that we leave on August 1st from Las Vegas. Our first flight is actually at 3:30 in the afternoon. That's fantastic because it's not super early, having to get to the airport early. So our flight is at 3:30, but I'm going to ask everyone to try to get to the airport by 1 p.m. Yeah, that seems like perhaps early, but we have to organize our group. We have to check in. And you're supposed to be at the airport 2 hours early, so giving ourselves that little bit of window. So again, don't be late. I said 1 o'clock, which means 12:45. Yeah, that's the rule. So try to get there early so that you can organize and really be ready. Yeah, we will meet at the ticketing. Yeah, we will check our luggage. We will all get through security. And then you'll have time to grab something to eat. Yeah, it's always important that you eat before you get on a flight. Yeah, I had a stewardess once tell me, never get on a flight when you're hungry. Because if you're really hungry and something goes bad and they're not able to serve food or that, you can really put yourself in a moment of kind of distress. Yeah, so it's always good to have some time at the airport where you can grab a coffee, where you can relax, and where you can get ready to board the plane. Yeah. Our first flight, it's actually a little bit strange because we're flying from Las Vegas to Amsterdam. Yeah. So we're actually passing the UK and landing in Amsterdam, and then we'll take a flight from Amsterdam to Edinburgh. Yeah, so it's actually not too bad in terms of timing of things, but yeah, not too bad in terms of timing of things as it goes. I'm really glad that it's only 2 flights. Yeah, and we're not hopping 3. We're hopping someplace else to top 3 places. So. In Amsterdam, you will probably have to clear immigration, possibly clear customs. Now, what does that mean? When you come into a foreign country, you have to clear their immigration. You have to present your passport and you have to tell them why you're traveling to their country. Now, the US has various agreements with countries out there, so you can visit them. And you can stay as a tourist. Amsterdam's part of the EU, the European Union, so you're allowed to visit there as a US citizen without the need of a visa, a formal visa. Yeah, and you're actually not even visiting Amsterdam, you're just traveling through Amsterdam. So you'll present your passport. Sometimes on the plane they give you landing papers and they'll ask you various things like, why are you going? What's your address? And those are things that you'll fill out. Again, I'll provide you with the little cheat sheet of things to answer that you put on there, what your address will be. So you'll have all of that. And then they often stamp your passport and then they send you to your next flight. Yeah. Sometimes you have to pick up your baggage and check it. Sometimes they make you pick up your baggage because they just, on the off chance that they want to look through anybody's baggage, that happens. But more likely than not, I'm expecting that our bags will be checked all the way through and you won't see your suitcases until we get to Scotland. Yeah. When we get to Scotland, we might have to go through immigration again, where we present the passport, where we present the welcome letters, where we present any landing cards and addresses that we're going to. Another thing that sometimes happens, sometimes this stuff is now done on a kiosk at the plane. So it used to be you would fill it all out on a form, and sometimes now it's done online. Some places even allow you to do it on a phone. So you fill in for their country. So some of that stuff we end up playing by ear as we travel. Yeah. And again, they want to know things about where your final destination, where you're staying. You never should travel to a country without knowing, this is my address in that country. This is where I'm going. So even if you're part of a group, because oftentimes when they check us in immigration, we won't be collective as a group, we'll be just doing it individually. So you can't say, hey, Lewis over there knows what's going on with my life. Yeah. So again, be responsible, and I will provide you with the little sheet of your information as well. You always need to know that they can check your bags in customs at any time. You know, be very friendly. Don't tell them that you have things that aren't in your bags, or don't carry things that are really suspect in that too. Yeah. When we get to Scotland, we get through, so immigration is where they check your passport, where they stamp your passport. And then the other part of it that you'll see is called customs. Customs is where you let them know what you've brought into their country. So that's where, particularly, you're only allowed certain things to come in. They're looking for things like you do not want to bring a bunch of expensive things to sell in their country. You do not want to bring shellfish or fruits or vegetables. Those are things that usually are protected in travel. And things like fruits and vegetables, it seems like, why can't I bring an apple into Scotland? And it's not the apple that they're really interested in. It's like if that apple has any eggs from any flies or some specific insect, they don't want that to populate their crops. Yeah. So the US tends to be the most protective of that. So usually you'll see that on landing forms. They'll even ask you things, have you visited a farm? You know, because they're interested in things that have to do with mad cow disease, or things that you'll bring into their country that will somehow affect their country. Yeah. Also illicit drugs, things you shouldn't, firearms, things you shouldn't be traveling with, unless declaring them and everybody knowing that is really happening. Again, you'll have a welcome letter from the Fringe Festival if there's any question about what you're doing. And the big thing to know when you're traveling through immigration and customs, you're really going as a tourist. You're not going on business. So it's really easy to say, oh, I'm performing, so it's business, and check that on a box. But just know that that triggers a bunch of things like, are you making money? Are you paying taxes on the money that you're making over there? So there's a lot of other things. None of us are really being paid while we're over there to do the show. So you're really going on a student group. You're performing, but you're actually a tourist and a visitor of the Fringe. So you're a visitor of that country, just to be clear about what's going on. Yeah. Just a funny story about customs is that when you get through customs, they'll ask you sometimes, is there anything to declare? And anything to declare means that, I have things that I shouldn't be bringing. Yeah. If you're bringing a live animal, like if you're traveling with a dog, that is something to declare. Yeah. So most of us won't be traveling with our pets. So most of the time you'll go through a line that says nothing to declare. Or if they ask you if you have anything to declare, you say no. A funny story with that is that Oscar Wilde, the famous playwright, when he traveled to America the first time, they asked him if he had anything to declare, and he told them, well, I have to declare that I'm brilliant, and so I sometimes chuckle about that every time I walk through through customs and that. You should know that Edinburgh is 8 hours ahead of us. You know, it's 8 hours ahead of LA, Vegas, Pacific time. So we'll be tired when we get there. We will do a bunch of choreography, probably to get to the airport. I'm going to do some investigating about what the best way for all of us to do that. UNLV has not covered any of that. They haven't even paid for me getting from one place to the other. So it's really up to us. It might be the easiest thing is for people to team up together and take a taxi cab, which I think is, maybe 30 pounds to get to the airport. I think there's a cheaper bus also to do that. So we'll look into what the best way for us to get from the airport into the city is, and to get to the housing. We'll get to our apartments, we'll check into our apartments, and then we can see what's next to do. There's some other things on the schedule that do need to happen on the second. One of them is the musicians have to travel to Glasgow to pick up the double bass instrument. So that has to happen, which will be tired. But then also there's a press event that's happening. So I'm thinking if we get there and we check in at enough time for me to get to the press event, and somebody else might want to accompany me, so that we can hand out some buttons, we can hand out some posters or flyers. All of that could be really great and really important. So again, I'll talk a little bit about jet lag in another video here, but we'll be tired, but there's, again, a lot to do. The biggest thing is be rested. Yeah, be rested before the trip.